Welcome to episode ? I think it's 7
It's
of
7.
the Ronzo. Oh yeah, episode 7 of the Ronzo and Podcast, otherwise known as the RPCast. This week our guests are Robolua.
You are an
Rona.
idiot.
Robolua.
There you go.
Say your name. Say your name and then give an
Robolua.
introduction.
There, you got it right.
No.
Oh.
Now introduce yourself.
Oh, well, I'm Robolua on most places. If you RP with me, you probably know me as Rona Gidden, or in the case that's relevant to this podcast, Peacemaker Sheena from the Peacemaker Guild, PCRS. What else should I say?
No, that's good. Stop speaking now. All right, and then we have over here, we have Lee, also known as Corvus, is who I think I met you as. You go ahead and say hello.
Yes, that's right. I play Corvus on Falcon Company, and I'm just here to shed some light on the guild.
That's good. Lon, do you want to introduce yourself?
Why should I? These people should know me by now.
They probably wish they don't. Anyway, So this week our topic is
law enforcement. Yeah. So, quick question: how many minorities have you guys beaten?
It's a pretty good question. That's pretty racist, man.
I mean, that's pretty much Astoria in general. Pretty racist.
There's a toll tax. Are you kidding me?
It's
Is there
a
a tall
height permit.
tax?
Thank you.
There's a toll tax.
If you are too tall, you must have a height permit. I have issued one, in fact, to a sheriff lieutenant once. It was great.
Yeah, if you go to
Dragged him
Redstone,
all the way to the Peacemaker HQ to issue him his permit. It was amazing.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, how about you, Corvus?
Well, I'm actually a 11-year police veteran in a town in Texas. I'm actually a policeman, and
Woo, Texas,
if
represent.
you're just talking about in-game, all the minorities get womped on.
All right, in-game's all we care about right now. But that's good. That's good. I wasn't actually prepared for that. Okay, Lion, ask the first question because you cucked me out of the Google Doc where we keep all the
I just
questions.
fixed it. I fixed it. Okay.
Okay, well, ask it anyway. You've upset me.
Okay. Do you think law enforcement is ever going to catch a break from people who just want to be, super thief man or super power man? You think they'll ever get a break from people being
super
butthurt?
Assassin, super assassin,
the
super
best
warrior.
thing ever.
That
Yeah,
really
you can't
depends
beat me because I'm the
on how
strongest.
serious they think it is. Like, if they're the kind of person who's just going to be like, well, I'm good enough to dodge your attacks because I'm a 10th level whatever, or whatever they want to use to justify it, then I don't think you will, because there's always going to be someone like that who's more interested in establishing why their character is cool and that's what's fun to them than in interacting.
That's a valid point.
Yeah, but if you're pulling off crimes in plain view,
I mean, sure, you should expect retaliation, but if you're just going to respond to that by telling them to, go fuck themselves, that you're cool and don't take hits, then
/E dodges.
Slashy dodges. That's the best. No, that's go on, Corvus.
It's something we've always had a problem with at a hard time. And of course, it's a role-playing game, and people can do whatever they want. And a lot of it is unbelievable, and it's a lot far-fetched. But what can you do? We had something happen last week with us at the Whisper. Corvus was patrolling around and sees a bunch of emotes, goes inside, and a bunch of characters direct him up the stairs where there's a fight in progress. And, as he's going up in Falcon, we have a policy. We always whisper the people to make sure that they want the Seraph to get involved. And halfway up the stairs, they're telling me that, no, it's some private thing that they plan. They don't want anything happening. But he got flagged down, icily, by other characters. So you got to retcon all of that and explain to everybody that, never mind, these guys don't want anything to do with it, even though it's happening in a public place and they've involved people in the public who are not involved in the roleplay itself. So what we suggest people do is, if you're going to do something private and you don't want to be bothered, take it to an instance or go into a chat.
Or
go
into party chat or squad chat, like they were doing it in plain, / emote or say.
Yeah, or you can go into a non-RP shard
It's fucking
where no one's gonna bug you at all.
No, like, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do something like that, and you want it to be private, then do it privately. That's
Pretty much.
like
if
why?
you want to do an RP like that of like having an actual like big fight with someone in public, you should expect it to be, if someone is a law enforcement you should expect them to be like, whoa, what's the commotion? Show's over, everyone move along. You should expect that, and you
Well, even
shouldn't
a
be like, no, you
bystander.
can't. I mean, I'm
What'd
not
you
saying
say?
that you can't. Like, you should probably plan for that happening, and not, what Lee was saying.
Yes, they should, but they can't be made to. We can't force
Yeah,
them.
that's what I mean.
That's why we have the policies in place. Just we got to ask beforehand what's going on in a whisper.
Maybe you should
Yeah.
hit them harder.
And that's the only way to deal with it. It really is the only way to deal with it.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying
Stop
that what
resisting.
you're doing is wrong. I'm saying that what you're doing is good, but I wish that people, thought ahead of time. Didn't have
I
to.
think. I mean, would you say like? I would argue that like you're absolutely right, and you should be able to react to it if they're doing it publicly. Like they have plenty of like even if they don't want to do it in an instance thing, they could do all of those emotes in like squad chat or party chat, and then if you do it publicly to me, that's inviting the public to join in on it.
First, I'm gonna wreck this man, and then I'm gonna wreck the police.
Fuck the police. We should have started the podcast with that. Oh no.
Oh,
That's the name of it. That's
my
the name
street
of it,
cred.
though. Yeah, my street cred's gone now. All right. You have anything else to say, Lee, before we move on?
Oh no, that'll do for that.
All right. What do you what's your stance on like NPC guards? Like when you roll up in the club to lay down some sweet justice, do you have like NPC serif with you? Is that not kosher?
Well, yes, I do that all the time. We have communicators that we use like a radio in game, so we can summon, not only our fellow guildmates but NPCs if we have to, and it's perfectly reasonable to do so because there are guards scattered around everywhere.
Makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
I never thought of doing that until I saw that question, but I can totally see doing it. But I honestly feel like I would be a bit iffy because I would be worried that people would just flat out not respect that and like either just dispatch the NPC ones easily and assume I was the only good one, or just ignore me completely for bringing NPCs basically. Maybe that's just me being, I guess, cynical, but I'd be concerned about that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people would be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." I mean, I always like to be pleasantly surprised by people, being nice, I guess.
Respect in the roleplay community. I don't fucking believe
what
that.
the fuck?
I've never heard of that before.
You're supposed
Hit
to
your
dodge all my attacks and decapitate me without giving me a reaction, dude.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
As your coat whips in the wind, fucking
Yeah.
glorious stallion.
You ride your motorcycle off into the sunset and fuck
I made
everybody's
it
bitch.
because I'm a technomancer, as
Oh,
well
can
as
we-
everything else.
Oh my
But you
god.
can't be unbelievable about it, though. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to not only emote for these NPCs that you're drawing out of the woodwork, but you've also got to be reasonable with it. These are normal soldiers, and you're not going to be able to summon more than maybe 4 or 5 at the most.
I
You
would
can't just
argue
dog
less than
one
that.
guy with 50 guys.
Is there like a certain like guard name you automatically go to for every time you got to draw one out, like Officer
Ronzo.
Jenkins or something?
Officer
No,
Ronzo.
just straight up say NPC guard 1 or whatever. It's
Goon
just a
1.
utility. Yeah.
My mother
It's
gave
just
me
a
a horrible name of
Goon
NPC
A.
Guard 1.
Goon A and Goon B.
It's my
I
feeling.
I don't know how I feel about that because I generally haven't dealt with the Seraph or any Seraph guilds in a while, but I don't know. I've seen it in the past in like Lord of the Rings Online where people role playing like the town guard and Bree would summon would have or actually no, it wasn't well yeah they would have like a couple of guys on it, but like another thing that I saw is if people who weren't in like a law enforcement guild saw a crime happening, occasionally they would start role playing NPC guards themselves. And I don't know how I feel about that at all.
I think that is really dependent on a lot of factors. Like, I would feel a bit weird about that if I didn't know them, but if I was like aware of them, even if peripherally, and like, oh yeah, that I know this guy. He's a cool role player. He's a good, he's chill. He doesn't god mode or whatever. From someone I know, they could say that about him. I'd probably be more willing. But if it's just some random guy, I'd be like, you can help, but I'm gonna like be a bit concerned.
Yeah.
Well, here's another
It
thing.
does go both ways.
Yeah.
I have had incidents where the bad guy players will summon random bandits to help them fight off the law enforcement. But it is a good point that some people have done that, because the few of us that actually do play Seraph characters, we can't be everywhere and we're not always online. And we have had it before where players will say that they had something happen while we were all offline, and they had some NPC Seraph arrest some other character and hold them until one of us got online. And as long as everyone's cool with that, it works real well. Because it's unreasonable to say that, oh well, no one from that guild is online. That means there's no Seraph in existence at all.
Coffee break.
Sarah forgone post things.
A really, really long coffee break.
Quick, the Seraph are asleep. Everybody steal shit.
Stolen
Exactly, you got to be
Yeah.
reasonable to everyone. I mean, everyone wants to have a good time and have their character do what they want to do, and we
So-
can't all be there.
So
We could
you're
go-
in a no, hold on. I'm asking the next question. I'm in
Oh.
charge here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were alternating here. See, this is why we
My-
go to couples therapy. He doesn't talk
This
to me.
is why we go to couples therapy, and that's why I want a divorce, because I don't like you very much. Anyway, I
Piggyback
just
your
just
shit.
curious for you, Lee, for Corvus, how many reports or anything do you guys get in a given day? Like, is it assuming that Divinity's Reach is the most villainous hive of scum and villainy you'll ever see, which it is. Like, how much crazy bullshit comes across your character's desk per day? I see.
Can't stand loiterers.
Oh, probably 3 or 4 incidents. They're not all criminal. Some are just missing people. Some are just incident reports just to record that something happened, and we want to make sure it's written down for future reference for liability or whatever. But actual crimes, I'd say 2 to 3 a week that are reported to us. Of course, crap's always happening, in Salma and at Osan and everywhere else. But it's what gets reported to us is all we can tell you about, and that's one
Yeah,
of the
that
reasons why we
sounds
want more
sticky.
people involved. We have more
Yeah,
people involved with reports, we can do more.
I was just
But they
curious,
don't
curious
utilize
as to the amount. I'm just curious as to the amount of things that let's say a crime happens with a player, like an actual IC thing, and your character follows through, and then they get cold. The criminal player gets cold feet halfway through and doesn't want to follow through with any form of punishment. Does that happen often?
It happens all the time, and it's understandable. People don't want their characters to be locked away for months on end, not being able to play them and continue their roleplay plots. But it is
So-
hard to get people
go
to
ahead.
be reasonable about it at all. We can't say, oh well, you attempted to murder this person and stole a bunch of crap and broke all this stuff, so we're going to give you half a day in jail and say everything's fine. And a lot of the victim players, the players that their characters are the victims of these things, they get upset because they think we're not doing anything. But we have no right to force any player to not play their character for a long time, or even have them executed, or even pay a fine. It's all a cooperative thing, and people want to play the Billy Badass bad guy, and that's fine. But just like in real life, the government guilds, the law enforcement guilds, and the roleplay community at large are all going to be at odds with your bad guy. The odds are stacked way against your bad guy, and they're going to eventually.
So what I'm hearing is that we should all band together as vigilantes and dish out vigilante justice. Is what I'm hearing.
So
Well, the only way to do that, the only way to do that would be to ignore the bad guy character, just completely block them out and ignore their roleplay.
We have to show up and
Because if
beat
they
him down.
say, well, you can't catch me, any attempts you make to post an emote to hurt me is going to fail. I dodge every single thing, or I can shadow step infinitely until I'm gone. There's nothing you can do.
Shadow step to space.
All right.
Yeah,
That's all fair.
Can I say something yet?
Yeah, go.
No, I don't want to
So,
hear you speak.
I've participated in like 3, give or take, scenarios of like where I've actually been required to, like, or I should say where I felt obligated to, as a peacemaker, contribute to trying to arrest or stop someone. One of them was like just after I joined the peacemakers, in fact, and someone just started whispering me. And at one point I started realizing, wait, are they actually asking me these questions in character? And then they just jumped off Rod Assume, and I was just really confused. So that was the first time I tried to arrest someone, and I don't even know what to think of that one. The second time was with Seraph, and they were all really cooperative, and it was really fun because they basically were actually trying to do some other plot, and so they started making a ruckus, and some peacemakers all show up and are like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here disturbing the peace? Can we see your height permits?" And so I arrested a lieutenant or sergeant for not having a height permit. It was great. And then the third time, I'm not on duty with someone. Like I'm not on duty with another character, and we were just at the docks, in fact, catching a butterfly. And someone walks up to us and A, calls my character in quest, and B, starts trying to break into a crate on the docks in Radasum. And I'm like, excuse me, citizen, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me. And they
Stop
immediately
right there,
ran off.
criminal scum.
They immediately ran off and disappeared. And my reaction to this was just, okay, bye. What else am I going to do?
Job well done.
Right? Like, I'm not going to just follow them.
Well, I mean, at some point it's got to get boring, right? Like just law enforcement roleplay.
Well, I mean, I would assume it would, like, depending on how many people are fucking just saying, no, you can't catch me, I'm too strong. I mean, but what do you
I'm
guys
the
think?
strongest.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like there's some level of, this person clearly didn't have any interest in actually participating in a peacemaker roleplay, because the moment I, was being I'm a peacemaker, they just dashed off and didn't even make an emote of it. They just ran away. And it's like, okay, all right, thanks for the cock block, bro. What else am I going to do about it? I'm not going to whistle. I mean, I could whistle and say, hey, do you want me to chase you? But my character wasn't even on duty at the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody wants to be the cool guy.
Yeah.
Billy Badass, even though that's my name, I've taken that role. I am the Billy Badass. People keep trying to intimidate. What's the word? I'm drawing a blank here. Ronzo, help.
I don't know. What? Intimidate?
Imitate.
Imitate? What are you, fucking scrub?
Yeah, I'm from Texas. Our education system is awful.
You have an education system? That's news to me.
We have
What
things
happened?
called schools.
What happened to you? All right. I guess we better move on before we offend somebody.
Yeah.
Or did you have anything to add, Corvus?
No, that sounded about as far as you can take that question without beating it to death.
Fair enough. Guess I'll
You
have
can't
to read the next
Juliana.
question.
It's my favorite
Yeah.
image.
Because I can't talk. I got taw mouth.
So, I mean, we kind of answered this question already, so I'll kind of change it around a bit. But, in terms of your, like, law enforcement and characters are running around being pricks and, like, attacking people, like, to what extent do you tell your guild members, like, okay, you're allowed to order these people around and tell them what to do? Or, like, put them in handcuffs? Like, to what extent? Because, like, is it like, okay, we have to chase them if they're visibly breaking the law? Or is it always we have to ask them OOC even if they're obscenely breaking the law in front of an officer?
I think
like
it's
Seraph.
going to be the second one, if only to determine if they themselves are, I don't want to say going to be mature enough, but I'm going to say it anyway, going to be mature enough about the situation. Because, like, if their response is just going to be knocks out the peacemaker disturbing them while they murder people, or even just kills them, then I don't want to roleplay with them in the first place. Yeah, like, if they're just going to emote stabbing you in the heart and not even saying stabs at, just, then I don't want to do them. If they're going to, respond to that with, oh yeah, I'm doing X, why don't you join with us? Or, hey, I'm like, oh, sorry, I, wasn't really thinking about, that. So, or even like whatever they have to say, as long as they respond to that, I think it's a lot better. You at least get some information, right? Even if it is just, yeah, I'm murdering people, but I'd rather the peacemakers didn't involve themselves. Well, I mean, okay, fuck me, bye,
I didn't want to arrest you anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're a terrible criminal.
What do you think, Corvus? I want to
Well-
hear your sexy voice.
As far as that goes, we don't have command over anyone's players. We never do. Our make-believe authority comes directly from the players who want to use our services. Essentially, our law enforcement guild is there to serve the roleplay community. People use us to continue and advance their plot lines with actual law enforcement workers, and we work entirely off of consent. And as I mentioned before about asking if they want us to step in, we do have to ask. We don't have any right, like I said, to tell a player to do anything with their character. And if we do get involved, though, we do want others to be reasonable and realistic based off of lore. And a player can opt out at any time. Unfortunately, even if they do consent at first, they can take that back. And of course, we're gonna reply. We like to. We'll tell in brackets to everyone around, that the person's backing out, and we're gonna just retcon the whole thing, just so people around understand. Because if we get involved in something, if we're on a random patrol and we come across a fight or something, the people around are going to expect to say, "Oh, there's a little gaggle of seraph." They're going to do something, and if we just stand there for 10 minutes just watching while these people are getting stabbed and bled out, while we're trying to negotiate what we're going to do, it looks bad on us. So we do tend to try and step in before we actually whisper everybody, but that's only because it's an in progress, open public situation where we can kind of expect that the seraph or anyone getting involved would happen.
Which makes
But
sense.
but
Which
we
makes-
can't make them do it, which is the thing. And if
Yeah.
they back out halfway through, it's fine. We just act like it never happened and continue our little patrol. And everyone around knows why, because the bad guy didn't want to, be humble enough to be caught or stopped or even interrupted.
I feel
Now,
like this comes back
there-
to a big thing about sorry, brain trap. No, I'm not sorry. Fuck you, Ronzo. A big
oh well,
thing
now I'm
in
taking
role-playing.
over. Fuck your shit.
So that has to do with basically the matter of from a standpoint like in universe. My character is a doctor in the guild or something, and there's someone else who is the commander. But we're both people. We both have schedules, and we both are beholden to no one in the guild other than as a courtesy. So like on some level, it's like I expect Commander so and so to do whatever. I expect Lieutenant so and so to do whatever. But on the other hand, I'm DMing this plot, so I'm expected to do something. It's like, and it's a different situation, but it's the same thing again. It's it's how much of the power are we willing to give as basically as respect and courtesy to people, right? Or am I just talking out my ass?
No, that's
Respect
right.
and courtesy in a roleplay community.
Yeah, I know that's too big a word for you, Lion. Sorry, I should have picked a better one.
First of all, well memed. Second of all, I think we already.
Beat that one to death.
I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna let Corvus answer because he's the only one here with actual experience in it. So I'll let him respond. Or maybe not.
Well, again, I'm just trying to think of the question. Again, the authority that the Seraph have, that we have as players, the only authority we have is what other players give us. If they allow us to get involved, if they allow us to arrest their guy, if they allow us to do anything, we only have as much power as we're given. And a guy can be as much of a dick as he wants in character, going around causing trouble. And if he doesn't, if the Seraph can't do anything about it, he refuses to work with us, and he's bothering enough people, the roleplay communities, usually they'll respond by ignoring the fool.
Yep. Ronzo.
But other than that, there isn't a thing that we can do without their consent, without their cooperation. And you gotta bend. We want to be good, Seraph. We don't want to be incompetent Keystone cops or anything like that, bumbling around, tripping over ourselves, trying to do our job. But we also know that, we can't catch every single bad guy. We can't, just like the bad guys can't get away with every single crime. And it's a two-way street, and you do have to have the understanding that this is just a role play that we want to do for our entertainment as much as the other person's. Again, as a service providing guild, we enjoy providing the service and playing our characters, but we're doing it mainly for the benefit of the other people, so that they can have a very immersive, realistic roleplay where they can actually get a response from a government official when the need presents itself.
Yeah, because you can't expect ANIC to be that, even though they are the ultimate authority. We're a community of ourselves. We're not necessarily expecting them to have it. Let's. This is
Did you ever
thing.
did you ever set the price of somebody's bail off gems? You don't have enough gems to get out of prison.
I have never contributed, so I don't got anything.
Well, then
No.
you're no good to me.
Mm-hmm.
We don't accept actual currency in the game for fines. We just, if someone emotes that they paid the fine, that's it. We don't actually exchange anything, because that would be asinine.
Do you
Officer
want to do
Johansson here.
You should do like a guild plot where the leader of the Seraph company just makes a total heel turn, and everybody just goes down to the city and beats everybody down with their bully clubs, and then starts extorting all the businesses.
Yeah.
But
Just
the
turn it
odds
to
of
the
No, there's
mafia.
not a lot of room for that.
What did-
All the trade guilds and the criminal guilds are already doing that. That wouldn't yield hardly anything.
Yeah, but
We'd just be picking up scraps.
you're better equipped.
yeah,
You got the armor. You're backed by the queen.
you are backed by the queen. Say that you got packed airships. Just say fuck it.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
gonna blow the reach really hard.
Every
So-
single person in the Reach, that'll take
Yeah.
a while.
So here's
I
a
got time.
question. So I know I've seen a lot of people's characters, mine included. He's not excluded at all from this. They act as if like the Seraph or the law enforcement guilds are like wildly incompetent or just almost borderline non-existent. Like, how do you respond to that? Do you just kind of tip your hat and go, "Okay, that's fair, but have a good day," or do you have like an active
lady.
like fuck
Well-
off? You have like an active plan to try and combat that with like by doing plots or being more having more beat cops.
Well, as far as in-game's concerned, there's nothing that can be done outside of our guild. There are, I think, 2 or 3 other Seraph guild that are currently operating, and we can't control what they do any more than they can control us. But what we try to do to combat that is just we try and be professional and fair in every encounter we have to build up a reputation for at least our own guild, our own Falcon company. Outside of that, there's not a lot we can do. Just like in real life, if I get that kind of attitude from the public, there's nothing I can do but be as good an officer I can on my own. I can't control the others. And, there's nothing you can do to turn public opinion in game or out of game when you've got bad apples or when you've got situations where the final outcome wasn't accepted or appreciated by everyone involved. Like I said, a lot of the times, the victims, the players that their characters are victims of these things, they don't feel satisfied because even though this character tried to commit mass murder and did all these things, normally the queen's seraph would execute these people or the courts would order the executions.
You should
But
just do
we
it.
can't do that.
You should just do
So
it.
people can, we try, but they won't do it. They'll just say no and run off.
Report
that's
them for
another thing.
gold spamming.
We're not connected to the court either. That's another issue. The Crichton Ministry Guild, they actually wrote the law, and we use the law that they wrote, and they also control the courts. Just like the police in real life, all we do is we throw people in jail and toss them to the courts, and the courts
Okay, so on that,
haven't.
before you
Yeah.
go too much further, because that's something I actually want to ask. How do you feel, and this goes to everybody in here, about players writing the law? Because I don't like that at all. I
I
think
think it's really dependent on how much they give us to go by. Like there's an NPC in Rodosuma, I forget where, who actually is talking about issuing a height and even a smell permit to someone. So that's clearly a thing we should do as the peacemakers. But in terms of other things, I don't personally know of any really good. Maybe Naxi can help. Yeah, like there's an actual like cheat. Oh, that's the guy who actually says it. That's convenient. There's only so much we can glean from NPCs, from the actual story and stuff.
Mhm.
So there's some degree of it that we can establish, but from there on, we can try to establish what we assume is right, what we assume is
No,
reasonable.
I would assume that would be something that you would put to like a massive vote on a community site rather than like have a guild like Crichton Ministry say, okay, this is the law. Whether or not it might just be like a quick rewrite of like place like
Actual
United
law.
States law or something like that, actual law. But like I think and I don't know if it's actually done this way. I have no idea how it's done. So if anybody knows, please tell me. But like I feel like one guild saying, okay, this is the laws that we should follow. I'm not huge on that.
The hell? Why are they writing laws?
I don't know.
Why do we
I
need
should write.
laws in a video game?
Well, I mean that's part of the roleplay community.
Because also my
This is-
XX Sephiroth XX420 Blaze It character really establishes his dominance as his cloak flaps in the wind, right?
I mean, honestly,
If there's no
who
laws for him to
expected
break.
who didn't expect him to be a troublemaker when his parents gave him such a shitty name?
Yeah. Him and his arch rival Smegma Lord have destroyed the town.
Ass palms 420 YOLO. Lord of Destruction and swag kickflips. I don't know. That's my thoughts on like that's like my main grief with guilds with guilds who do law enforcement is what gives you any more right to enforce the law than any other player.
Well,
And if-
that comes back
which,
to
I mean-
do you ask people, right? Do you want to get arrested?
Yeah, I mean, that fucking shit. That reminds me of the fucking dot hack sign, like their first anime that came out, where there was a group of people playing as law enforcement, and they wrote the game admins to say, "Hey, give us mod power," and the game said, "Fuck you, you shouldn't have that. You're dumb." But not that it is stupid for people to roleplay as law enforcement, because I think that makes sense. Because you roleplay as thieves and stuff, then people are going to want to be on the other side of the coin. But I don't know. That's my 2 cents, and in my opinion, is very important to everybody. So people should know. I'm gonna move on though.
Well, if
ahead,
I
Lee.
could
No,
let
go
you
ahead.
know what I would say,
Oh my
they in the Crichton Ministry is actually, according to lore, the legislative branch of the kingdom. They do make the laws. Now, if you do go to their website and look at the laws, they are very simple, very basic statutes, and there's not that many. It's just basically don't hurt people, don't steal from people, and don't do the basic things that any human society throughout any history or area would have, those very basic laws. And they're really flawed because we can only use those laws. We're basing it off of the Crichton Ministries Roleplay Guild, which is the only one that I'm aware of, and is kind of the default authority for the roleplay community on that server.
Like,
That's well accepted. However, the issue is that they're very basic, and they're very very undetailed. For example, we had an incident where there was a guy serving a very young child alcohol in a bar, and there's no law against that. There's no law against sexual exploitation of children, which we ran into. Uh, there is something in lore about slavery, but it's not written into law. And that's where you get into the problem when you're playing a law enforcement character, is you've got to be reasonable to the universe you're in, the lore that's in place, and whatever roleplay authority that's taken the initiative to write down some rules. And they're very basic. And they will tell us, look, we'll run into that sort of thing, and the bad guy character will tell us, hey, I'm on the Crichton Ministry website, And there's nothing in the law saying that I'm not allowed to do this or not allowed to do that, even though it's a very common sense thing. And I agree that it's difficult for one guild to be making all the laws for everybody. Well, at least in that one city, but it's the main roleplay hub for everybody.
Well,
But it needs to be done. If it's going to be followed so strictly, it needs to be done well. If they want to give us a lot of leeway and a lot of common sense and our own discretion, then you run into things like, well, this is a medieval style era human society. That wouldn't be illegal yet, or that would be, or you get into arguments when you don't have stuff written down, you know?
I mean, it also can come down to, it might not be illegal to touch a 12-year-old girl, but you're a fucking asshole to do so.
It might have not been a law back then, but the only time there was like stuff like that, it was usually like to bring noble families together.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, it was usually frowned
issues,
upon.
We had issues in Pack 53rd, or like back in the day, where we wanted to punish a character because they were caught doing drugs on duty during battles, or like basically just doing missions, and they argued that in Krita there's no evidence of any laws against using drugs, and
Right.
it became a huge clusterfuck.
Right, but we're not Krita. We're a group. We're
the pact. It's in our code.
If the
Try not to
commander
be
says
high
it's
when
not okay,
fighting
it's not
dragons.
okay. Like, on some
Well,
level, again, this comes down to what I said before. It's a matter of,
the only high you should get while fighting dragons is being on an airship.
420 praise it.
420 schmegma. 420 schmegma lord.
Well, that's another kind of issue that we've had come up, was the jurisdictional boundaries.
How do
we've
you
had
do that
pact
with yours?
members come. Well, we try and use lore as best we can. One time we had some pact members come into the city and trying to throw their authority around during an incident, and they don't have authority within the kingdom. They're just an independent private group. But when you run into the Shining Blades or the Ministry Guard, the lore very specifically tells you what each branch specializes in and who has authority over what sort of incident. But sometimes they bleed together and it can be confusing. And the Shining Blade has an immense amount of...
made a convoluted story? I don't believe you.
I'm only saying because people get really, really lost in the details, and it's hard to work with people who want to have a certain kind of role play happen, but another person that's involved wants to go strictly by what has been written down or what is said in lore. And people tend to forget that this is just a game that we're trying to play to relax and and get by. So the trouble with being a seraph is, you're wanting to help, you're wanting to be out there and getting involved in people's crap, but excuse me, if they don't want to cooperate,
there's nothing
because of the law not being written, or because the law is written in such a way that this or that, it makes it hard, because then you can't trust every single seraph player to be able to make up the laws as they go, because not only will it be inconsistent, it won't be fair.
That's fair.
Because one person might have their character hate Char or Azura as one of their default things because they got messed with by a Char or Azura in their youth or whatever. And so without those, if the role-playing community doesn't come together and have at least some basic stuff in place of where, this is what's accepted, this is not, then you're going to have seraph that are going to be running around just throwing their authority around without anywhere to look back and say, hey, it's not written down like that. And we can only use what they've written, and what they've written is really thin, really weak, and it does cause problems. But if it's not there, then guess what? You're going to have a little army of seraph just doing whatever the hell they want and throwing people in jail just because they don't like them. And
until they run into the packed super police.
I feel like a big part of this comes down to, again, it's I mean, as Val put it, uncommon sense. But like, if I'm on a character and I'm going to commit a crime, I wholly expect if there's if someone catches me that I will have to make a break for it or fight. I expect that. I go into the
Well,
situation expecting that.
That
And
comes
maybe-
down to
Well,
the
then
same. That comes down to the same rule. That comes down to the same rule we told. Basically, comes up every single week in this podcast.
Build a
Don't be a.
wall?
Don't. No, that's the. Okay, so the second most important rule that comes up every week in this podcast: don't be a fuck. Just don't be a fuck.
Which one is wipe zigzag?
Wipe zigzag is today's topic, but don't worry about that. Don't be a like. It's just if you're gonna like, honestly, it's almost common sense and it's common fucking courtesy that if you're gonna have your character beat the shit out of someone ICly and be a prick and a criminal in public venue and the guards find you, well, now you have to deal with them. You can't just say no. I don't want to deal with the repercussions of my character's actions. Like, yeah, it's fun.
Right.
But it's the one part of the thing that's fun is the immersion of it, being felt like you're being part of it, and having your character go and commit a crime and then get away with it, despite the fact that there are outside forces who could put a stop to it. But you, OOCly, are stopping that by saying you don't want it. That breaks the immersion. That takes everyone out of it, and that's not fun.
Yeah, like before the pact, I played Lion, and he was kind of a mercenary, kind of down on his luck. He was having a hard time finding jobs, and it stressed him out. So he started getting in the fights at bars, and the Seraph would come, and I actually enjoyed, Lion getting all bloodied from the fight, and then he has like little to no strength left to actually fight off the Seraph because he didn't go quietly, so that he
When
usually
does
ended up,
he?
yeah. He usually ended up being like knocked out or like he's bloodied and he has to be dragged back to a cell. So
All right. Well, I mean, I'm going to move on to the next question unless anybody has anything else to say.
I don't
All right. Well, fuck you. I'm moving on to the next question.
have to say that.
So,
Okay.
how do you guys? And this is actually a pretty good one because I hadn't even thought of this. So you can thank our wonderful viewers for asking these great questions. A lot of them, and some of them are mine, and all the other ones are the viewers. But remember to tell me that I'm great. How do you guys feel about players who roleplay characters who are law enforcement members, but the players themselves aren't members of like any particular guild that does law enforcement? They're just independent.
I feel like that really depends. Like when I first made my character a peacemaker, it was honestly on a whim. It was just, hey, our characters look alike. They should be sisters. Hey, your character looks like she's a peacemaker. I'm like, okay, that works. That gives me a thread to make this character have a story. And then from there, just derive, or not derive, just grew from there. And what ended up happening was I knew I met someone from an RP guild I was in at the time who was a peacemaker, and I did, a bit of stuff with them. And then I ended up, joining the Pact Guild as a representative or something. And then when I finally actually discovered that there was a Peacemaker Guild, I was like, I should join this. So, if the situation is like that, I've made this character. I like Peacemakers. I should join Peacemaker Guild if there is one. Or if it's, I want to be a Seraph, I want to be a Wolf Boar, and I want to be whatever the Char version is, and they just haven't seen one. I think that can be cool. If they want to join and are interested in it, that's cool. And if they're not, that's cool too. If they're going to try to interfere with our guild just because we're peacemakers and he's a peacemaker, that would be problematic to me. I haven't encountered this, but that's the only case I can think of where I would honestly be bothered by it.
There you go. What do you think, Corvus?
Well, we'd love to have the monopoly on all law enforcement in the Reach, of course, but realistically, there are 9 captains in the Seraph, 9 different commanders, and it's broken down into several companies. It would not be a far stretch for someone to want to play an independent lone Seraph from some company that's way out far away, and they just happen to be in the Reach doing their thing. And we already have 3 other established Seraph companies that we like to work with, but we don't control in any way. And if someone wants to play a bladesman or a ministry guard or anyone, good for them. The only thing I don't like about that is we lose the quality control. In the Falcons, we hold our players to a standard. They have to, a lot of people want to be Seraph players. I mean, they want to play Seraph characters because of the power, because of the uniform, what have you. And we do have certain requirements that they need to adhere to. certain amount of expectations of participation. So if you get a lone seraph, uh, they're going to be bouncing around doing whatever they want. They may or may not be using the Crichton Ministry laws that have been established, and they might be making up stuff as they go, which will just show inconsistency. And unfortunately, the little tag above most of the Seraph players' heads is just the little SRF, Seraph deal, and you can't really tell which company they're in unless you actually click on it and look. And most people associate one for all. They see one guy in one company, they're going to just Seraph or Seraph, period. They don't realize that there are different companies. And if you have one going around just being inconsistent or just plain bad, it hurts us. However, we can't tell anyone not to do that, because if they want to role play a guy that's in a company far away, we have no right to tell them they can or cannot. We don't hold the monopoly, and we don't want to, uh, because it's a free form of role play,
Mhm.
and we're all cooperating together to make this community, flow as much as possible and be immersive and enjoyable. And it has happened. We have had some rogue shining blades show up saying, this or that, and we'll try and work with them. We'll try and be streamlined, but in the end, we just hope that people understand that our guild is different from others, and we just don't want there to be too much inconsistency, and lack of communication is another big issue too. If you're all by yourself and you don't have guild mates and you get into a big scene, you're probably going to get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. What was I gonna fucking? I was just out of curiosity. How often do you, like, if there's a crime out there and like a couple Falcon guys show up, but you might need a bit of other help? Will you like you or your members hit up like a different Seraph company and be like, "Yo, we need more goons here to help us fight these ruffians"? Or do you do that with the Peacemaker Guild? Or like, do you ever phone in a friend from a different company? Is what I'm asking. If
Oh,
you ever
all the
need it.
time. In fact, we often patrol with joint companies. We'll patrol with the other companies, just because we're all Seraph and we're all doing the same thing. Uh, it's no, it's better that way. I mean, the more the merrier, and that's true for any role play aspect. And we've even called upon help from Ministry Guard role play guilds, Shining Blade role play guilds, and we've even asked for help from just bystanders, regular citizens. If we need them. But no, there's no contention between the different Seraph guilds to the point of where we won't even work with each other. We actually patrol together and work cases together, and we do events together. And it's we have different missions, different wants and things. The Falcon Guild, for example, our primary mission is law enforcement within the Reach. We don't go outside the city very often. Our primary objective is keeping the Queen's peace, keeping order within the city. Another Seraph Guild, they have their main mission is fighting the Centaur off, out in the field. But they're often in the city because that's where headquarters is. And every once in a while, they'll come on patrols or whatever. But we're all in it for the same thing, which is just playing Seraph, playing the game and role playing. And we don't have any problem with any of them.
Yeah,
really.
I actually gotta respect that a lot, because you guys are doing the stuff that most people would fight against, and y'all must put up with so much
I
shit.
can't imagine the bullshit.
So
I can't imagine.
mad respect.
I mean, just
Well,
role
we
playing an officer of a military thing and dealing with all the shenanigans on the just internally in that one guild is a fucking clusterfuck for me. I can't imagine what you do, sir. I tip my hat to you.
My
we do
lady.
appreciate that. And we try and conduct ourselves very professionally. And the guild uses my insight, as an actual police officer in real life to help them along. And, we've got guys that have been in the military, guys that have been managers of large companies, uh, we have a lot of experience in many different aspects of both military, law enforcement, and just regular leadership and management. We have some guys that work just for government entities, different parts of the government, and they understand how government work goes. And we instill that in the handbook. We do have a handbook, and it's on our website. And the handbook kind of elaborates on what's expected of our troops, what to do in certain situations, how to behave in character and out of character, how to work things out. And when worst comes to worse, you put things on pause and call for a supervisor or someone higher if it can't be resolved, or sometimes you just got to walk away if you just can't work it out. But there's all sorts of obstacles. But when you're having fun and you're enjoying what you do, those obstacles are easy to overcome because you want to continue what you're doing. We don't have a lot of rage quit incidences because people want to continue. And as far as dealing with other people's crap, that's the nature of the game, and we all understand that when we start in. And in fact, that's one of the questions on our application is you'll be dealing with the public, you'll be having to write actual reports and document things. And we do. You visit our website, you'll find that we actually do have incident reports, and we report all of our arrests, and we report all of our major incidences, and they're documented, time-stamped, and all that good stuff. We even add supplements when things happen afterwards that need to be added. And it's fun for us, at least, to play professionals and to play very competent and very easygoing law enforcers, so that everyone can have a good time and everyone has a resource to go to if they've been wronged, ideally. Unfortunately, like I said, once we get into the court section, that's on another guild, and we don't have any influence over that. But as far as getting things settled, restoring the peace, having crime scenes inspected and looked over, gathering evidence, blah, 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 we can do all that, and we do enjoy it. We would like for the community at large just to come to us with whatever they need. And if we can't help, we can forward them to the group that can. The Lions Guard is another resource if something happens to you over in their area. And we've taken reports about things that don't happen in the city, because Seraph do have exclusive jurisdiction over the entire kingdom. So our main mission might be the city, but we can still do stuff, investigate things or take action outside the city in any part of the kingdom. And we have before. We've sent out forensic teams to look at murder scenes way off in the boonies. And we don't mind it. I mean, it's part of the job, and it gives us something to do. We do enjoy the whole immersion. We do enjoy having things come up unexpectedly, that we don't have to make up crimes or make up events to have something to do. It's a wonderful thing, and we want to be able to continue that. And the community, as many fuckwits as there are out there, the vast majority of the whole community, they're respectful and cooperative, and they just want to have fun just like we do.
Good. I mean, it's great hearing somebody in the position of role playing as Seraph who knows. I mean, obviously you deal with it in real life as well, but just who knows how to do it, and not be a prick. And again, tip my hat off to you. You run it well, and you sound like you run it well. You know what you're talking about, and you keep yourself from be looking too overpowered or like trying to force people into stuff. And I know it has to be an awkward line to walk, but damn, dude, good stuff.
Well, you really can't force people to do anything. That's like you mentioned before, or maybe not you, but another person. If they don't want to, they'll just literally run away, or they'll take a portal somewhere, or they'll just leave, and you'll just be literally standing there with nothing.
I mean, well, I gotta move on. I gotta move on to the next question because we're running low on time. I gotta move on to the next question. Oh well, don't tell people you get up in the middle of the podcast. It ruins the immersion that we're all sitting on the couch.
My mother's calling because she's visiting me the first time in months.
Tell her you're busy with more important shit.
But you kept talking, so I couldn't say anything.
Well,
ask your damn question.
I'm going to ask my question, but only because I wanted to.
Ask it, Jesus.
It's not a phase, Dad.
All right. So, how codependent would you say? This is actually a pretty alright question. How dependent would you say that your guild is? Peacemaker Guild or Seraph Guild, or just guilds in general of that nature, of law enforcement nature. How dependent would you say they are on the community? So a lot of guilds like our guild or other guilds might have guild arcs and plots that kind of are done internally, but these ones they definitely need to thrive off.
So I wanted to point out this
whole.
question came from actually one of the guild leaders of PCRS who wanted me to share some things. And basically, that's why I asked it, because I'm curious. What they were trying to get at, though, is that the Peacemaker Guild is
all right. Well, we got to end the episode early this week.
Can be self-sufficient if the Asura community is really like bustling. Like if there's a lot of stuff going on around Assume, we can, we don't need to make our own plots. We can just interact with people a lot, or things that have that nature. But so it has its ups and downs. When there's very little Asura community, there's very little things for us to do. When there's a lot of Asura community, there's a lot for us to do. I imagine with Asera, if Divinity's Reach somehow died, they'd have a lot less to do on a daily basis. Or at least in particular this group that I am failing to recall the name, but that our friend Corvus is doing can do, because there wouldn't be anyone to they're not the one fighting Centaur and Hinterlands or whatever, right? So they would have a lot less to do. They could adapt, and that would be, I imagine, fun on its own. But they would lose a lot of what they generally do.
Could seem like basically what people got into it to do almost. But what do you think, Corvus? Make it short, because I got to move on.
Sure. We aren't anything without the role-playing community support. It would just be us playing with ourselves around in the city.
Oh, I do that. I do
I
that
do
plenty
that all
already.
The time. Yeah. If only.
Well, yeah, but
then the law enforcement actually gets angry when I play with myself in the city.
It's because it's obscene when you do it.
I do it very seductively.
I get compliments.
It's still loot.
Anyway, so all right, I'm going to move on unless anyone else wants to say anything.
Nah.
Okay, so new segment that I've been trying to do is on the subject that we're talking about, law enforcement. I just want to hear stories. Your favorite, just one story from each person about favorite particular time or something that seems more relevant or just jumps out at you that you would want to tell to our bustling audience. And I've got one. I'm going to ask Lion as well. If you can't roleplay in a roleplay community without at some point running into law enforcement. So I'm going to throw this one to Lion first, because I barely got to hear him talk today.
I've been trying.
I know you're really bad at doing stuff, honey.
I don't like talking to people. Don't make me go to school, Mom.
All right, well,
but
how about... All right, go ahead.
A story involving law enforcement, you said?
In the game, not in real life. I don't want to hear about, you getting arrested for fucking your cattle.
Hey.
Arrested for that?
It brings in the best milk.
Not Georgia.
But it was such a while ago that I can hardly remember. Man, I can't remember anything. I just remember that Lion used to get in a lot of fights. And he'd get arrested a lot, and he was always kind of beaten up. But you might want to move on to somebody else, because I'm having a hard time remembering.
Even when I fucking throw you a bone, you're garbage. Oh my god! All right, Ronan.
Well,
you go.
That's what you get when you pick shit out of the dumpster.
Well, I think I told my best one earlier. The best horror story I have from law enforcement and Guild Wars 2, but I have much worse horror stories. If you want to hear that one.
Tell whatever you want to say. This is
on the topic of just respecting other people's role playing. I guess boundaries really. At one point in when I was first trying to pick up role playing, and I think World of Warcraft actually, someone just walks up to me and tries to literally just says, "You're now part of my demonic cult harem thing," and I was like, "No, I'm not. Bye." Right? Like, they didn't say anything to me ahead of time. They just did it.
I'm doing that in Guild Wars tonight. Actually, no, I'll do that in Final Fantasy tonight, because it seems more like I feel like
make
people
sure
in Final
you are
Fantasy
dressed so edgelordy that you can only fool someone who doesn't know better yet.
All right. Well,
every time I look at you, my eyes bleed.
Is that your story? Because I'm going to go on if it is.
Oh, it's pretty good one. I hope.
I think that's I short and sweet. I kind of wish someone had done that to me, because I would have gone on with it for like a month and just kept saying, "No, I'm just doing it to troll them," and then I realized I'm fully part of the cult, and that would have been my life.
You're now leading the
But
cult.
so in terms of law enforcement, I'm going to go back to Lord of the Rings Online because it was very prevalent in that because most of the role play that I saw was done in Bree, which is nowhere big of a town as Divinity's Reach was. So you would see more shit happening closer together. So more of the guard doing more shit because people would be fucks, and then the guard would come in. There was only one bar, so the guard would come in, beat the fuck out of people, and drag them off to prison. And Arian would just jerk off justice onto everybody. But there was one particular time towards like when I stopped playing, where there was a guild that basically rounded up all the other lesser, smaller, evil like crime guilds into one big group, and they got the biggest house that they could in the neighborhood that they were living in, and they all just posted up in there. It's this big evil league of evil. It was basically like the Brotherhood of Doom. It was fucking awesome. They're all in there.
Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, like and the guard after a while caught wind of it and realized that they were all there, but they knew that they couldn't do it alone because there's only like 10 of them, if that. So they went around the city, found all the not fucks, which was included my character's son, because my character Ronzo was part of the crime guild, but his son was a goody two shoes. So I also played his son. So he wound up joining the guild because the guard because they were building up a posse, and they went out with like at least like 25 to 30 guys to this house, and they all came out with 25 to 30 guys, and there was this big standoff, and it wasn't, believe it or not, with a role play involving like 40, 50 people, but like split down the center. It was not a clusterfuck. It was done really well, and there was a confrontation, and there was a fight, and it went really well because people, there was a lot of communication back and forth before it went down. It was done really well. And I also had to somehow get us off the topic of Guild Wars too. I like talking about role playing other games as well. But Corvus, do you have a story you want to tell before we end it?
Sure, I got a little something that would kind of illustrate what we've been talking about with the inter-guild cooperation. But since you brought up World of Warcraft, before I came over to the Guild Wars, I was actually the GM of the Stormwind City Guard Guild for the server I was on, and that's where I got most of my roleplay experience.
Wait, what was the exact guild name?
The Stormwind City Guard.
Okay. I was in a guild, the Stormwind Regiment, on my side. I was about to flip out. Go on.
Close, but no. But anyway, to the story. Corvus was off duty walking around, and he encountered a ministry guard in uniform berating a citizen. And the ministry guard was drunk. So Corvus stepped in and just tried to figure out what was going on. And the ministry guard began to assault the citizen and was very intoxicated. And Corvus effected an arrest and, basically held the person down, and they got to fighting, and it got to the point of where he had to use his guardian abilities because it was getting pretty serious. But he used his radio to call assistance over all channels, and another Falcon who was actually on duty in uniform showed up, and they were able to get the person, the ministry guard, under arrest and under control. But then the guild leader of the ministry guard got involved after we had dragged the guard to jail. And that player's character actually got fired from the ministry guard because of the report that we submitted. And that was a good example, I think, of the two guilds cooperating in a weird instance and actual consequences coming from it.
Wow, that's
not terribly interesting or funny, but
no,
like I said, a good example of how we operate.
I think it's interesting. I like just the cooperation there. Jeez.
Well, like I said, we're doing it for fun, and we can't have fun unless we cooperate.
I got my story now. I got my story.
No, you had your chance.
No.
Fine.
I mean, there are all kinds of different stories. I mean, I got funny ones and tragic ones, and dark ones, but I thought that was just the best for what we've been talking about.
Oh, but, if you bring that up, I actually have a much better one I could go into.
No. We all get one story each, and since Lions,
I'm being a little bitch
speaking.
I'm being a
since
little
his
bitch
attempt
right
at
now.
speaking didn't go well.
I'm
yeah,
going
okay.
to kick
can
you with
tell
my toddler
an
legs.
actual story. Tell an actual story, and then we'll finish. So go.
It's not actually my story, but it's from what I heard.
Oh, just shut up and go.
No. Anyway, I don't know if I'm gonna go ahead and say the name because he's probably already famous. Tyrese Washington. He's a man's man.
Not all heroes
He-
wear capes.
Not all heroes wear capes. Not all heroes wear capes, but I remember specifically he made a character called the Fuda Hunter, and he would hunt Norn Fudas.
That's amazing.
And like he would track them down into the sun.
Somebody give that man a job at ANET.
Oh my god. Just Tyrese Washington.
Is that story still has nothing to do with the topic?
No, he's a law enforcement. He's enforcing the law.
We're not talking about vigilante justice. It's vigilante justice.
He's Batman.
That's not against the law, as stupid as it is.
Well, fuck. Okay. All right. So everybody told their story. Before we end, Corvus, is there any guild or anything you want to plug before we end? Because I know you mentioned you wanted to get more people in, get more awareness out of this Falcon Company.
Oh well, no, that's just it. It's just the Queen Seraph Falcons. There are others, but we work with all of them. If you're in Divinity's Reach and you see an actual Seraph guild, chances are we work with them. And if any of you have anything come up in Divinity or anywhere in Creta, and you want Seraph assistance, you can request me by name. It's Corvus Corthro is the handle.
Didn't your character arrest mine once?
Probably.
Yeah,
Corvus
the
arrest.
guy running around calling himself the King of Thieves. Maybe.
I've had like
probably.
3 of those.
Yeah, but mine was the best.
Probably
All right,
the
anyway.
easiest.
Are you
How about you,
shamelessly plug
Rona?
your YouTube channel now?
I will do that after Rona talks. I'll plug my YouTube channel.
Okay. Let's see. I'm not aware. Maybe not. Naxi can correct me on this. I'm not aware of any big things that the Peacemakers are doing right now. That said, if you want to get a Peacemaker involved, you can. If we're on, you can pretty easily just flag me, flag Naxi, flag anyone you see on, and PCRS will probably be interested in helping if you're Radastum or Metrica. Can I plug one other thing I'm doing that actually will involve Seraph, because
Go ahead.
that's half the point. I'm actually doing it for the Pact Guild, a big event, a big party thing next weekend, a big nobleman party, and I was actually planning to have the Seraph involved there, and that's it's going to come up, people that want to respect them, if they're start stirring the piece of the party and the Seraph step in. You
want to give us a date, time, and place?
The date, time, and place. I can do that if you give me the time it takes.
Okay, I guess I got a stall for you.
Saturday,
so if anybody wants to... Oh, never mind.
Ronzo, Saturday, the 21st of May, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in Minister Wee's, I believe it is, mansion in Divinity's Reach.
Okay.
Yes. Bring your best nobleman.
No. Shut up, Lion.
No.
All right.
I think it's to do it. He doesn't.
So I'm going to selflessly plug. If anybody wants to hear more of me, check out my YouTube channel, League of Aggressively Average Gamers at YouTube. Other than that, that was a podcast. Thank you so much, Corvus.
It's a league
thank
of
you
two
so
people.
much, Robola, for coming out. Join us next week when our topic is building walls and the liberal response. See you guys later.
You should just call me Rob already. God damn.
Choke me, Bernie Senpai.